We're going to talk about solving equations by graphing. And this is a pretty easy method to use. It's a little time consuming because you have to do the graphing part. And if it doesn't work out really perfectly, it's hard to, you may have to use an algebraic method to get the exact answer. But since we're going to be using Desmos and graphing calculators for part of this, it should move along quickly. When you solve a quadratic equation, or any equation for that matter, you are just finding the zeros or the roots. And it's the same thing graphically as finding the x-intercepts. So all you have to do is look, where does it cross the x-axis? That's the solution. Now, without a graph, the other method for finding the zeros would be factoring and solving. We're going to learn a third method afterwards, but for today, that's pretty much what we're looking at. So we're going to look at these three examples, and we're going to have one that has two solutions, one solution, and no real solutions. So we're going to take a peek at how we would even look at this first one. Since it is not in standard form, we're going to need to move an x. So I have it here, and if you're doing this the quickest way, you would move this x squared to the other side by subtracting x squared from both sides so that you would get 0 equals negative x squared, and then you would have plus 6x minus 9. Now this is fine for solving, but if I had to solve this by factoring, personally, I would have a hard time because I do not like to factor in negative x squared. It makes it much more complicated. So even though it's quicker to move the x to the other side, what I would do instead is I would bring the 6x over by subtracting. So I would have x squared, let's get that squared in again, minus 6x. And I would get this 9 over there by adding 9, and the whole thing would equal 0. And this I could factor easily as x minus 3, x minus 3. Why does it not matter? Well, let's take a look. Graphically, those were two different equations. But as far as the solutions are concerned, they aren't. So let's sneak over here to Desmos and get a good idea of what this will look like. So here's x squared minus 6x plus 9, the one that I found easy to graph. If we had done it the other way, where we had negative x squared plus 6x minus 9, you can see that they both have the same exact solution. They both have 3, 0 as their answer. They look different, but the zeros are the same. And it's going to work out the same for our middle equation, which I'm not going to go back to the picture, but I'm going to go right in here, where we had a negative x squared, and I'm going to bring the negative 8x, I'm going to bring the 8x and the 20 over. So I'm going to do negative x squared, and we're going to get minus 8x, because we have to bring it to the other side, and we're going to get minus 20. And you can see, like, oh no, where did the graph go? Well, if I scooch this up, you can see what it looks like. Now, likewise, the other one, if we had moved it this way so that we had x squared, and it was 8x plus 20, plus 8x plus 20, you can see that, yes, the graphs are wildly different, but both of them have no solution. So the solution, if you're finding just the solution, it doesn't matter what you multiply the graph by. And we'll show one more example to give you an idea how that works. And it goes with the last one. The last one, if you factored it out, and I think a lot of you would be able to do that pretty easily, let's write it as x squared. And I'm going to bring the 5x minus 6 over there. So I'm going to get minus 5x and a plus 6. We can see that we've got an answer of 2, 0 and 3, 0. And if you factor this, what two things multiply to give you 6 and add to give you 5? 2 and 3. So this does work out. Now, what we want to do is we want to do the other version where we have the negative x squared plus 5x minus 6. It still has the same two answers. And in fact, we can multiply this original equation by anything we want. I'm going to multiply it by 2. So it's going to be a skinny little thing. And we're going to get 2x squared minus 10x plus 12. Let's just do that. It's the same two answers. So even though the graph changes, the solution does not. It's because we could divide out a 2 from this and it would look exactly like the original. We could multiply this entire equation by -1 and it would look like this. So they will have the same solutions. Oops. So what I want you to do is I want you to try all of the problems below. Some of them you will have to get them into standard form. And after doing that, you will submit this and you can get started on your homework. One thing I do want to let you know is I don't want you to panic if you have something that's a cubic or a weird shape. Remember, solving, you're just finding the x-intercepts. So try these different ones out. And if you have any questions during class, you can ask away.